Hi, Jensen.
Dinesh, take over.
Anaka, you need to unmute first. Anaka, can you try speaking? No, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Your bandwidth is low, Anaka.
I'll try leaving the meeting and joining again. Yeah, can you hear me now? Hello?
Yeah, perfect. You're well audible, Anaka. We can proceed.
Once upon a time, the young Thomas Edison came home and handed a letter to his mother addressed from his school. His mother's eyes welled up as she read the letter to her son. Your son is a genius. This school is too small for him and doesn't have good teachers to train him. Please teach him yourself. After several years, Edison was renowned as one of the greatest inventors of the century. One day, he was going through his old family possessions. Suddenly, he noticed a folded letter addressed from his school. On the paper was written, "Your son is mentally deficient. We can't let him come to our school anymore." Edison cried for hours, and then he wrote in his diary, Thomas Edison was a mentally deficient child who, because of his mother, became the genius of the century. A very good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome to the Area 28 Evaluation Workshop. I would like to say a few words about TMI. Toastmasters International is a world leader in communication and leadership development. The first club was started in 1924 by Dr. Ralph C. Smedley. Presently, there are 15,900 clubs in 143 countries and 345,000 members worldwide. The mission of Toastmasters is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and self-growth. To ensure that we have a pleasant and uninterrupted meeting, let us follow the golden rules. Avoid speaking on the 3 taboo topics: religion, sex, and politics. Please keep your mobile phones on silent mode so as to facilitate the speaker. Ensure your microphone is on mute at all times unless called upon to speak, in which case you can unmute and switch on your video. This meeting is for 2 hours. On this note, let us welcome our charismatic area director, Toastmaster Jensen. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Anaga. Am I audible and visible? Okay, cool. Thank you, Anaga, so much for opening the meeting with so much energy and enthusiasm. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Area 28 Evaluation Workshop. I would like to quickly share my screen so we can get things moving. Can everybody see my screen? Sorry. 1 second. Yes. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Jensen.
Okay,
We
cool.
can see.
Yeah. So friends, today let me quickly take you all through what to expect in today's session. So our session today will be split into two parts. The first part is where we will all see an international speech, and then we will have a panel discussion analyzing that international speech. Now, the idea behind this particular exercise is for us to understand what are the elements that make a great speech great. And in the second part of today's workshop, we will listen to a live speech. One of the speakers will deliver a live speech, and we will have 10 evaluators selected from the various clubs within the area who will analyze the target speaker's speech and then give us a 2 to 3 minute evaluation, similar to an evaluation contest. After they've given the evaluation, we will have a panel discussion on the way the evaluators have actually analyzed the speech. So that way, everybody would have a hands-on experience on how to analyze a speech and how to improve our feedback. That is what this is the agenda for today's meeting. Moving forward, now why are we doing this? Now this is one of the important questions I need to address here. Now evaluation isn't just about how to give feedback. If we know what are the elements that make a great speech great, it'll be easier for us to understand and connect with our speaker. And as a speaker, it will be easier for us to create or develop speeches that will help us connect with our audience. So the first thing is to learn the elements that make a great speech. Second is to improve our analytical skills. How do we analyze a speech? Rather than define the finer elements that can we observe it? Can we check on those elements? Can we see, can we identify the elements? The third is, again, how do we evaluate, once we've analyzed it, how do we evaluate the speech overall and give back in form of a feedback? And finally, all of this exercise will help us improve our own speech crafting skills. So once you know how to analyze a good speech, you know how to evaluate a good speech, and your speech writing will never be the same. And this is something I've learned from experience. So these are our panelists today. I will quickly take you all through the panelists. Our first panelist is Toastmaster Ashish Gokhale. He happens to be a banker by profession and a nerd by passion. Clearly, he doesn't look like a nerd. He loves to dabble with new hobbies, and his current favorite hobbies is cycling and filmmaking. Our second panelist is Toastmaster Priya Biju. She is not yet here. Let us hope she reaches here soon. So Priya Biju happens to be a teacher by profession. She enjoys being with young, vibrant minds. Maybe one of the reasons she is delayed is perhaps we are not as young as she would want to spend time with. Anyways, one of her favorite pastime is yoga. She likes to read, write, and cycling. So we have two cycling enthusiasts with us in our panelists. She believes inner peace is the ultimate resource to leading a more productive life. Very wise. And our third panelist is Toastmaster Manoj Raghavan. Now, Manoj is a regional manager for a UK-based oil and gas drilling company, and he's been with them for the past 32 years. So he is an industry specialist. And as a Toastmaster, he's one of the oldest members of Discovery Gardens Toastmasters Club. And as far as the Toastmasters communication track is concerned, the Toastmasters journey is concerned, he's completed the ACS level, the Advanced Communicator Silver. So friends, these are the three panelists we have. We have a banker, we have a teacher, and we have a manager. So let us see how well, how deep and how many angles can they dissect today's speech. Moving forward, we will also, so next is the session where we will listen to an international speech, and there is an evaluation worksheet that I will share soon after this. What I would request the audience is, make a note of the evaluation worksheet, and I want you all to also silently analyze the speech. Now, while analyzing the speech, do not worry about how you're going to present it. That is not the purpose here. We want you to improve your analytical skills, or we want you to identify and analyze the different elements that make a good speech great. So analyze the speech, write as much as notes as you can, and don't worry about trying to limit it within the 3 minutes. That is not the objective here. The objective is how well, how deep, and how detailed can you analyze. Just to share a template. So this is one of the templates we are going to work on for today's workshop. So there are three parts. As you can see, we have the structure, we have the content, we have the delivery. And for each of this part, try and identify what was good or what could get better. Also try and answer the question, how did whatever was good, how did it impact you? How did it make your experience better? Or if there was something that could have gotten better, how could it have been better? And finally, try to answer why does it matter so much? And is it really relevant, or are you trying to analyze it for the sake of it? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself in each of these elements. So if you have to look at the structure, we can probably analyze the speech structure, the sequence of events. Does it make sense? Was the flow smooth? And how was your state of emotion? Like, did you have a very vibrant emotional journey, or was it a monotonous emotional journey? So all of these are questions you as an audience, as a listener, can ask yourself. If you want to take a screenshot of this, please feel free and go ahead to take a screenshot of this. Second is the content. Again, with the content, the choice of words used. What was the emotional connection you had with the story or with the content of the speech? And which were those high impact sentences that actually impressed you or that actually wowed you? Again, the same exercise. What was good? How does it matter? Why does it matter? Finally, the delivery. Look for emotion in the content. Was there emotion? Was the content emotionally friendly? Was there emotion in the voice and the action of the speaker? And how powerful were the pauses? Did the pauses make an impact, or could more pauses have made a better impact? So these are questions you should ask yourself, and probably make notes. Make as much as notes as you can, because that is why we are all here. We're going to learn how to analyze a good speech, and we're going to do it together. So friends, are we ready? Can I see a thumbs up? Can you all give me a thumbs up reaction if you all are ready to analyze our first speech, the international speech? Good. I can see very few thumbs ups. Guys, everybody give me a thumbs up if you're actively listening to whatever I'm saying. Cool. Cool. Excellent. Excellent. Wonderful. So let us listen to our first international speech.
Kuang Yu Yang, knock, knock. Kuang Yu Yang.
Growing up in Australia as a little Chinese boy, my parents always told me that there were three things I could be: a lawyer, a doctor, or a failure. Now, at 9 years old, having a career path wasn't really on my to-do list. The one thing that I really wanted was the same thing that most other kids would want. It doesn't matter how old you are, what color your skin is, or where you're from. The one thing that most kids want is to be liked by the other little kids. Now, at 9 years old, being liked equaled being cool. Problem was, I wasn't cool. Bowl-shaped haircut, not cool. Maths nerd, not cool. And speaking funny English wasn't cool. But in my search for coolness, I did find one thing that gave me hope. And that was Kung Fu. You see, my idol at the time was Jackie Chan, a famous Hong Kong movie star that would climb up buildings, jump off trees, and kick everybody's ass. I figured, Jackie's got black hair. I've got black hair. Jackie speaks funny English. I speak funny English. Jackie's a Kung Fu master, so I must be a Kung Fu master. And then when I find out from my parents that Jackie's going to be eating in a Chinese restaurant in my hometown, I'm over the moon, because I have a plan. I'll go to the restaurant, I'll get a photo, I'll get an autograph, I'll show the other kids, and I will be cool. And so the next day, I convinced my parents to take me to this Chinese restaurant called Great Wall. We sit down, the waiter comes by, and we find out that Jackie is in the private room. It's up some stairs, up on the platform, up to the side. And so I walk up the stairs and I go towards the private room. There are these two big white doors that I can't see through. So I stand there and I get ready to knock. but I can't do it. And so my 9-year-old brain says, hey, let's just wait till Jackie comes out of the room and then we'll bump into him accidentally. And so I run back down to my table. I sit down and I stare at the doors. I stare at the doors for an hour. Jackie doesn't come out. I'm thinking, dude, don't you need to go to the toilet? I know I do. And then I look down and all the food on our table is almost gone. I'm running out of time. So I tell my parents that I'm still hungry and they order some more sweet and sour pork. I sit there and I eat as slowly as I can. 30 minutes passed, no Jackie. My parents say to me, you have to go knock on that door or we're going home. So I walk up the stairs and I go towards those 2 big white doors. I'm ready to knock and I can't do it. My knees are shaking, my heart is pumping, and my body is shivering. And then this inner voice starts yelling at me, knock on the door, just do it. It's not that hard, just do it. You're wearing Nikes, just do it. And then another voice yells, your Nikes are fake, you can't do it. Suddenly, the doors burst open. I think it's Jackie Chan. But it's a lady in a blue dress. She walks out of the room, so I quickly pretend as if I just happened to be walking by. I run back down to my parents, and my parents say to me, go knock on that door, or we're going home. And so I go back up to those 2 white doors. I realize I can't knock, and I realize I'm never going to be cool. And I start to cry. And I don't know how long I'm crying for, but the lady in the blue dress walks back up, she walks around me and walks back into the room. I quickly run back down to the table, and I'm hoping that the tears in my eyes will convince my parents to go knock on the door for me. They stand up, but they put on their jackets. And I know straight away, they're not doing anything awesome because they're my parents. And they want me to learn a life lesson. But the only lesson I learn is that I feel helpless. And I can't get through my door, which is both physical and mental. And so I stand up, I put on my jacket. I know I'm going home empty-handed. And I look at the door one more time and I see Jackie Chan with this great big smile. He starts walking down the steps and behind him is the lady in the blue dress. She whispers in his ears and points to me. Jackie comes over and he says, I hear that there's somebody I need to meet. I get a photo, I get an autograph, and I am over the moon. That night, a lady's little act of kindness gave this little boy hope. Now, every day, there is someone, somewhere, trying their best, but they're struggling to open their door. And sometimes, a simple knock doesn't feel that simple. And so if you ever see someone struggle, it doesn't matter how old they are, what color their skin is, or where they're from. Help them open the door. Because what the world needs now, more than ever, is hope. And if you want to wear a blue dress, that's up to you.
Well, friends, could all of you, I know it is a little too late to ask, but could all of you watch and listen to the video that was played?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, cool. So since I'm sharing my screen, I'm not able to stop screen share now. And we shall begin with the panel discussion. Before we begin, I want to check, my video is on. Okay. Is Priya Biju in the room? Is she in, our third panelist?
Yes, yes. Good afternoon.
Okay. We have Priya. I can't see Priya though. Panelist 2, yes, I saw her. Fantastic. So let us begin let us start with the structure of the speech, the knock. Now, as discussed, as we had initially shared the template, let us begin with how one second, yes. The structure of the speech, the sequence of events, and the flow of emotions. So may I ask, let us start with our first panelist, Toastmaster Ashish. Ashish, how well could you actually connect to the story and tell us what, and try and address the what, how, and why of your analysis as well, as much as you can.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. So I'm definitely not a kung fu player. So, but I'm a fan of Jackie Chan. So I definitely, at a personal level, definitely related to the conflict. So that is what actually first thing, which really I really liked about the structure of the speech. Knock was the way he took his time to describe the conflict in his mind as someone who desperately wants to do something, but he's not able to take the first step. I mean, that's how I got the conflict. So he started very clearly with why he wanted to meet Jackie Chan, because of his urge to be cool. Next, he came to what was the conflict in his mind that he was not able to take the first step. And third, he actually flipped the perspective from a completely new person perspective, that till almost 6 minutes of the speech, it was from his perspective, the conflict. And in the end, he like quietly flipped it on to the person who actually gave him a chance and resolved the conflict for him without him doing anything in a way. So, and the end was purely from a third person perspective. That is how you can help others to resolve their conflict, by just maybe opening the door or doing something small. So in a way, what I really liked the way, I mean, maybe not liked, I'll come to that separately, but he really played with the emotions in a way. He started with the speech in a way that I thought that he's going to talk something about the urge to being cool, to being noticed. He went on next to the inability to do something else. And in the end, it was completely from a news perspective of how you can help someone. So I like the way he kind of played with the thoughts in my mind. I mean, I was not able to predict what is he going to end. I mean, I thought I knew what is he going to end at, but in a way it was a twist at the end.
So you think, so if we had to summarize this with whatever we just mentioned, he was able to address this conflict right in the beginning itself. And the major part of his entire speech was how he was trying to overcome that conflict, the journey and the struggle of overcoming that conflict. And finally, he does a nice flip. So we will come to the conclusion part later. Priya, are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening, Priya. So glad you could make it. So Priya, for you, I want to know what were the emotions you've experienced throughout the story while listening to it? What was going inside your head as purely as a listener, not as an evaluator?
Yeah. Every speech would be even better accepted if anecdotes, real life experiences are added to it. Everybody enjoys listening to that. And in the speaker's speech, he had highlighted a main aspect of his childhood, which all of us must have faced in some part of phase of our life, the need to be accepted. At that moment, be it 9 years or 10 years, that moment, this is the greatest emotional conflict every child is facing. And I could very well relate to it, because for us, everybody, we have that opportunity is there. But the question, should I take it? Should I take it? Should I not? So that question is always persistent in our life. I think the speaker has brought out that very well, especially when he goes and says, should I knock? Should I? And so that flow of emotion, of hesitance, of conflict, of a low morale was brought in very well. And I can very well relate to that. It was a very well-structured speech, I must say. When I say well-structured, it has a good beginning, which laid the entire foundation. It had a problem, a conflict, wherein he almost found a solution at the concluding part of the speech. So that was also a highlight which I could analyze.
Thank you, Priya, for that. So again, I think the key part, the key message with whatever you just said is he was able to bring out a conflict all of us actually go through. The
Yes.
need to be accepted is one, and the steps or the confusion or the dilemma we all go through at certain points in our life. I believe that was one of the strongest connects he was able to bring out. And,
Yes.
and that is actually a good point you mentioned there, because I believe one of the techniques he used that was bringing in conversations with him and his mind. Usually we listen to conversations between two different external characters, but here if you all observe, Kwang was actually having or was able to bring dialogues that was inside his head, outside. So I believe that was a nice way of expressing that conflict and the dilemma he was going through. Coming to Toastmaster Manoj. Toastmaster Manoj, you're in, right? Okay, cool. So the sequence of events, now that is the other thing I wanted to ask you in terms of the structure part. Now we've heard, he first told us where he's from and his age. He set the stage of his physical appearance, and then he's brought in his family, and then the sequence of events that followed. Did you feel there were at any point in the entire speech where he spent maybe a little too much time he shouldn't have, or was he able to, did he give justice to each phase or each event that happened in the story? Was it justified, the amount of time and the energy spent on each event? Was certain events maybe undermined, or was certain events elaborated a little too much? Do you get the question? Are you
Yeah, I do. And I believe from a positive side, if you look at it, as what we mentioned in Toastmasters, is the personal story basis of it, is to provide that originality and the twists in the story, which keeps an audience engaged because they don't know what is coming, or they think that something is coming and it moves on to another side. So that way, it was pretty engaging all throughout, and it was structured with just the right amount in most places. Yes, there's always some areas of improvement, which we could always talk about. And it is, he's built it up to the right crescendo where ultimately the twist provides that right impact at the end of what the message was he wanted to bring across.
Okay, cool. So, so to conclude the structure part of the speech, do you think we could agree on the following structure? Like Kwang was able to establish conflict right in the beginning. He spent enough time telling us the dilemma he went through, the challenges, the problems he was having, and he was able to convey that through bringing out dialogues between him and his mind, the inner dialogue. And finally, towards the very last part of it, he quickly shifts from the story and gives us an unexpected and a very valuable ending. So that is, can we all agree that is how the entire sequence or the speech was structured? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yes, that's what.
All right. So we will come to this again. I will, to the audience, we will come back again to analyze why is this important? How does it matter? Coming to the content again. So this time I'll start with Manoj. The emotional connection, choice of words, and high impact sentences is what we will address in the content. So the emotional connection, Manoj, was there any point in the entire speech you saw yourself in Kwang's shoe? If you did, tell us why. If you did not, did you visualize somebody else, somebody close to you? Or if not, then where did you exactly get the connect? So
no, the connection is always there. All of us, I would say, at some point or the other would relate to some elements of this story, whichever religion, whichever caste, whichever color, whichever nation you are from, you still relate to that part, because it does bring in that childhood mentality and thinking is quite common across the board, across wherever you come from. And he did relate to that very well. The words that he used in that was quite smart, in that he had a play of words, and especially using the Nike's punch word of "just do it," which was actually "I can't do it," and then converting that to "just do it" as a message a couple of times, and using that play of words to emphasize where his messages were. And it was especially on the physical and mental barriers that he faced. And that is something at that, and where we mentioned about talking to himself. And he highlighted that part, which everybody could relate to, because at every point in life, even now, people do face that regularly. Yeah, so that's a very strong emotional connection to everybody, I would say.
What I hear from whatever you just said, Toastmaster Manoj, is the problem that Kwang actually brought forth was a universal problem. Rather, it was more of a problem, or more of a personality struggle that we all go through. The lack of self-esteem, because nobody's born with overconfidence. There is a journey we all go through. So perhaps that was one of the smart things, or one of the how do I put it, the tricks or the technique that he used to establish a common connect, or making it more appealing to a larger audience from various backgrounds.
Yeah.
Yes. Coming to Ashish, choice of words, Ashish. What is your take on the play of words Kwang used, and how much of an impression or how much of an impact did Kwang's choice of words have on?
One thing which really stood out in the speech for me was his usage of the power of three, which in a lot of people always talk about. He used it in, at least initially he started, I was a doctor, a lawyer, and a failure. Then I think he said, okay, I want to learn English. And then in Kung Fu, there are 3-4 places where he started 1, 2, and then something very weird, or a twist 3. So that is a very classical use, so that it takes you someplace and gives you something else. So that was number 1. Number 2, which I really liked about the power of words, is he described things pretty much in detail. So you kind of like what he's eating, the pork soup, or the 2 white doors, or you very rarely you don't hear such descriptive language where you're detailing the scene so that you can kind of visualize in your mind. So that is the second thing which I liked. And something which I kind of thought he could have, or maybe I didn't kind of get it, was it's between the content and the structure is he's for a very large part of the speech, he was talking from his perspective. So I was actually in his shoes. And in the end, he took it from a different perspective. So I actually, in a way, I think that ending was a little weak in my view. It's linked to the content and the structure, because you're in somebody's shoes trying to be with him for the first 6 minutes, and the last 1 minute is just you didn't know the girl in the blue dress at all. You had no understanding or nothing about her. So that's where I think maybe he could have talked a little bit about her mind for some more time, rather than spending too much time about himself, is where I thought.
I understand. In fact, that is actually an interesting fact you mentioned there, because throughout for nearly 6 minutes, we experience ourselves to be in Kwang's shoe, and all of a sudden he's empowering us and he's placing us in the shoes of the girl in the blue dress. So and we do not have enough time to actually even absorb it or accept it. Before that, the speech is also over. So yeah, that is an interesting thing. Perhaps, as you mentioned, with the structure and the content. And the other thing that I felt was the repetitive use of the triads. He had, not only the triads, as Ashish mentioned, the doctor, lawyer, or a failure, there was rhythm there. And the words, either the last words were rhythmic or the first words were repetitive. I had to either learn Kung Fu or, the choice of words used. And not only that, even with the descriptive language, one of the other things even I discovered and very much sharing the same opinion as Ashish, was he used descriptive language, but he used very simple and very little words to even describe complicated states scenarios. So that way, even we were not lost with the kind of words that we used, but we were able to quickly visualize. So coming to Priya, this is more on, again, it is slightly repetitive, yeah? But in terms of where was the, where did you get the blow, the impact? Where did it, which part of the story, or when was it like, oh, this is beautiful, oh, this was, oh, I can totally relate to it. You know, that moment of realization comes as a listener. Can you tell us which was that peak point you experienced? And then tell us why you felt that way also. Let us try and analyze that.
Okay. I would say, as both you and TM Ashish said, the use of triad was well executed, because one thing I could relate is when initially itself his expectation, his parents' expectation from him or his life was lawyer, engineer, or failure. Because I have sensed that myself, without doctor and engineer, your life goes hayway. This has been instilled in my brain from, I don't know, like when we have started school. So when through that triad of lawyer, engineer, and failure, you are giving a closed choice. You have these two choices, otherwise the third choice is failure. I think this is an important message to the entire society in this world, I would say, and I could very well relate to that. Then, as I told you, the emotional conflict of not taking the right decision at the right time and losing an opportunity is again very well explained in this, which as a person I can explain, I can very well relate. I wouldn't have lost my boyfriend to my friend if I had taken the right decision at the right time, I must say. So that again was quite relatable. But somewhere again down the line, I must say the message of the whole speech got diluted. When we all said first 6 minutes, it was from the perspective of the speaker. Suddenly, the blue dress lady took over. So was the message about creating opportunities? Was it about kindness to help others? Or was it about hope? Because he concluded it with hope. So somewhere there was a lack of clarity in what exactly was the message the speaker was trying to impart. So yes, I thought he would stick to the message of creating or grabbing opportunities. However, in the concluding part, we find that it is just catered to kindness, hope, etc. So it was not focused, I believe.
Yes, I feel the same. And again, there are two ways to look at it. Because even as I was listening and feeling the same, having the same opinion, if had he gone with the same conclusion as we had expected him to go, the speech would have been very predictable also. So he was, yes, in a way, I believe it was a different technique, or he did a nice experiment in trying to give us a twist in the end.
Exactly. Otherwise, it would have been predictable, as you rightly said. But I felt the hint of that could have started
a bit earlier. A bit earlier. Yes, yes. That could have perhaps established a stronger connection, or
yes,
with the message. So friends, yeah. So that concludes the content part. So far, what we've discovered is, if you're giving a personal story or a speech to inspire, establish your conflict. Take us through the journey of that conflict, and then come up with how did you overcome that conflict. So if we have to see the structure of Kwang's speech, perhaps the first 20% was where he established the conflict. The remaining 60% perhaps was the journey in overcoming the conflict, and the final 15-20% was how he gave the message. And the way he did it, now that was just the structure part, but the way he did it, or the choice of words he used, triads, repetition of triads again, and the other thing is his message was one of the things even I felt here is his message or the solution he gave usually was not in the form of a statement or a sentence, but was in the form of a character. So perhaps that is again the lady in the blue dress. So that is again a nice anchor, because most of the speeches we're perhaps seeing the anchor or the foundational phrase is usually a phrase, not a character. So here the moment we relate to the lady in the blue dress, perhaps it is an anchor to recollecting the entire speech. Again, as a speaker, it all depends on how well can we recollect the speech later. Coming to the final part is the delivery. So Priya, I'll start with you.
Sure.
Emotion in his voice and action. How was there any point you got lost, or was it seamless?
I wouldn't say it was completely seamless. His emotions were in place in the subtle aspects of the speech. When he said, I ate the porridge very slowly. So there and all, we could see he had used a soft, a calm and composed voice, which went well with the content. But there were instances and incidences where his voice that punch and throw of his voice could have changed that impact. For example, he said, I had Kung Fu. If it was done in such an impact, we would feel that Kung Fu reached us. It was again a bit of weak. The voice was a little weak here. Same way, there was a sentence where he said, I was overwhelmed, I was over the moon. But the joy and excitement which he was supposed to feel, we did not see in the voice. He could have said, I was so overwhelmed. I felt just like over the moon. So if there was more throw and punch in his voice in certain areas, that would have reached the audience better.
Yes.
Whereas in the subtleties, his voice was perfect, I must say, almost perfect. We could relate to that.
Yes, I think he was able to play his dilemma and his confusion emotionally well, but his excitement didn't come out as powerful. Perhaps one of the reasons I felt was, I'm just sharing my personal opinion, he's pretty good at speaking at a slower pace, but maybe excitement, we need to increase the pace of our words much faster. Perhaps that is
and maybe his vocal variety is like that, like the genuine one. So
yeah, so if we do not have an advantage with vocal variety, perhaps we could leverage with the pace of the words we speak. Manoj, coming to you, pauses. What were the crucial pause areas that you perhaps observed in the speech that made an impact on you? Like what we're trying to analyze here is, before what did he have a powerful pause, and let us see how does it make a difference. So that is the
in terms of pauses, if you observe the speech, there were quite I mean, it is I can say that there's quite a few areas. There's a lot of areas where he took the pauses in between the speeches. Is it walking up the stairs, or to go and knock the door, or his parents wouldn't knock for him because, and just looking back at that, and there was quite a few moments he used quite a lot of pauses actually, and all of them were well structured in the pauses aspect of it. So from that perspective, he did come out pretty well, but he could have even in the end he had the pauses, but like Priya mentioned, and that's where I also concur on that front, is certain areas where he could have definitely used more vocal variety around, especially around when he says his knees are shaking, his heart is pumping, and his body shivering. That didn't come out as if it was actually happening. Yeah. So some of those emphatic areas where he could have put more power or more punch into, and the conclusion where you're convincing people to do things, that didn't come out. Yeah. So that was only, I would say.
Yeah, even now that you mentioned, even when Jackie Chan came out, the struggle he had did not correlate with the excitement he showed when Jackie Chan actually came out.
Actually, that's a good point you said, because when the door opened, Jackie Chan the first time, so there he had more emphasis than when he actually saw Jackie Chan open up the door. Because that was the girl in the blue dress the first time.
Yes,
but if you relate it to the second time, it didn't come out with the same conviction as the first time.
Very true, very true. Yes, yeah. I think that is perhaps one of the areas that as speakers we need to control our emotions. Ashish, finally coming to you. let us, and this is like the last question for the panel also in terms of this Kwang's speech. Let us look at the emotions in the content. Content as in the delivery part itself, but did the we know now he gave a lot of the story was there, his voice was there, but how well did the emotions actually how well were you able to see it on his face? Now we all now we can't, not everybody is not a good dancer or have control over our facial expressions, but with knowing Kwang's personality as the way it is, without him actually having to step beyond his comfort zone, how well do you think he played with his facial expressions, his smile, his eyebrows, whatever it is you want to comment on?
Look, this is an area which, I mean, I think not only Kwang, I saw at least 3 final presentations. I think it's very difficult to differentiate. I mean, I really empathize with the judges that it's very difficult to differentiate with on this area, because they are all, I think, first really great performers before they are speakers. So that number one stands out. So, I mean, I really don't want to split hairs. I mean, you can see I'm challenged splitting hairs anyway. So I don't want to split hairs about he could have twisted his brows. Or I think what I really learned, at least at my personal level, if I can pick up something from these guys, especially in the online medium, is how do you use eyes in the online medium? I think that's something we may not be performing or doing a world champion speaking in our lives, but at least in a simple call, how do you engage with the audience using your eyes? Because 99% of people are not able to do it. You're looking, it's very difficult to look eye to eye in a video call because you're looking at the people, then you can't look at the camera. So that match, and actually these guys, if you see, they flip the disadvantage of being in the online medium on its head, because with that intense eye engagement, you actually feel that he's talking to you, which is actually far better than even when they're speaking on stage, because there you are maybe a few hundred meters away, you can't even see anything on their face. Here, you actually, when he comes close, he whispers in your eyes. When he uses a space, he shows that great wall, he goes to the wall. Things like that, you make them feel that you're actually engaging with me personally, with me individually. So that, I think, all these guys really, one thing which I can pick up is 80% of the stuff about delivery is just using eyes properly.
That's actually a brilliant suggestion you've mentioned there, Ashish. Because even if we look back at Kwang's speech, even while him sitting there in the restaurant eating the pork, he's looking the same direction for Jackie Chan to come out, and then he's looking at us in the camera. So he had pretty good control, and I think all of his eye movements, the way he managed his eye contact, made us feel it was actually happening also as he was delivering. So that is perhaps, as Ashish mentioned, one of the things, tricks, techniques we can learn from how Kwang delivered a speech. And so to conclude, going back to the structure again, if it is a speech to inspire, establish a conflict, take us through the journey of resolving the conflict, and finally tell us what the lesson you learned. How do you do it? How do you make it more engaging with the power of words? Is triads are effective. Repetition of various triad scenarios are even more effective. Pausing before you give the punchline goes immeasurably higher. Delivery again, look at the camera, and if you're creating a scenario, block your eye contacts on the screen. Usually we do it on a stage. So these are the lessons we could perhaps learn from analyzing Kwang's speech. Panelists, do you all want to add anything else before we conclude? Did you miss out anything? No, okay, cool. So friends, this concludes our panel discussion on analyzing Toastmaster Kwang's speech. Next is where we get onto the second part of our meeting today. So for this, I will share my screen one more time. So we have the panel discussion. Can everybody see the screen? Yeah, can everybody see the? Yeah,
Yes.
okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah. So next is where we will have a mock evaluation contest, and these are the 10 evaluators we have from area 28. Evaluators, please make note of the speaking order. Panelists, please make note of the speaking order. What we will do is, we will have a target speaker come and deliver a speech. Yes, the evaluators will evaluate the 5 to 7 minute speech. They will be given a 5-minute preparation time. And in this 5-minute preparation time, they will be taken to a breakout room. And then the evaluators will be called in the speaking order. The evaluation time is the usual 2 to 3 minutes. Now, to the panelists, the evaluators will be evaluated as per the judges' ballot. That is analytical quality 40%, recommendations 30%, the technique of evaluation 15%, and summary 15%. So panelists, can I see a thumbs up? Are the panelists ready? I can't see the screen, sorry. Yes, okay. Are the evaluators ready?
Jensen, sorry to interrupt you. Shenba Rani's had some connection issues and she was not able to continue in the meeting.
No
so
problem.
we can
So
omit her from the.
Okay, so we are one evaluator less.
Yeah.
So Hema, are you ready?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. So I guess all our evaluators are ready. So let us, and the panelists are also ready. So let us, before we go, I want the audience also to do a small exercise. Let us do the same thing. Let us take the same template. Let us try and analyze the target speaker's speech itself. This is just to reinforce or improve our analytical skills once again to see how much we observe. And while you're analyzing the speech, do not worry about how will you present it within 2 to 3 minutes. That is not the objective. Focus on how well can you analyze the speech, how well can you identify the powerful elements in the speech, how well can you connect to the speech. Why were you able to do that? So these are the things I want the audience to get involved with. And friends, our target speaker for today is Toastmaster Priya Nambia. Her speech title is Dare to Dream, and timer please know, the time is 5 to 7 minutes. Toastmaster Priya Nambia, are you ready?
Yeah, am I audible?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
Yes.
So Priya Nambia, Dare to Dream, Priya Nambia.
February 28th, 2014. In the wee hours of the morning, my phone rang. I sprung out of my bed. Hello? 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 Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Do you dare to dream? Not the dream that you see in your sleep. Not the dream that you think in your head. The dreams that you inscribe in your heart. My husband loves traveling, and he has a natural love towards mountains. Everywhere we go, he would drag us to a mountain hiking or a glacier walk. It would kill me, but I would happily accompany him to see the sense of accomplishment on his face. He always dreamt of doing something big, to attempt a summit. But family responsibilities moved his dream to the corner of his heart. But life threw an opportunity at him. In September 2013, his cousin Anup and wife visited us. Anup also shares the same love for mountains, and their conversations ended in they trying to attempt the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro, the highest peak in Africa and the world's tallest freestanding mountain. We wives thought this is the madness of two old men in their late 40s going through a midlife crisis. But later I realized they were serious about it when they went and registered for the climb in February 2014. God would not put a dream in your heart unless He has given you everything to achieve it. My husband had hijacked the opportunity he got, but with only 4 months in hand to practice for the climb, he knew time was not favorable. The next few weeks and weekends, he dedicated completely in training for the climb. Every week, every day, and every weekend, he would walk 15 kilometers, climb 5 floors of a building 5 times. In the weekends, he would head to the beach, walk that same 15 kilometers with 10 kg backpack. Never have I seen him so dedicated and focused. He was in all his elements to achieve his dream. On February 20th, he bid goodbye to me. There was a sense of excitement, anxiety, and fear. I was worried, considering the amount of success of the climb. Only 40% of the climbers have successfully completed the summit. On February 23rd, the team began their climb. I could not speak to him every day as the signal over there was very weak. On February 25th, my phone beeped. There was a message from Anoop's wife. He might have to call it quits. He had a bad knee injury. I frantically tried to call Deepak, but I was not getting through. I wasn't sure whether it's Deepak's knee, Anoop's knee. I wasn't sure. Finally, I got contact with Deepak and realized Anoop had a bad knee injury and he had to call it quit. You dreamt about it together. You talked about it together. But to do it alone was not an easy task. Spending nights in the camp, in the dangerously quiet and eerie nights at the camp, at sub-zero temperatures, was draining Deepak's motivation. But he moved ahead slowly and steadily. 29th Feb, the team began their climb to the summit at 12 a.m. Pitch dark, sub-freezing temperature, and lack of oxygen was making every step feel like a mile. After 7 hours of treacherous, exhaustive climb, the team summited the Mount Kilimanjaro. The sense of accomplishment was beyond words. At the summit, he messaged, not me, but to his cousin, I did it for you, bro. In the early morning, my phone rang. I sprung out of my bed, and all I could hear was the feeble, emotional voice, I did it. But I could feel the sense of accomplishment, achievement, and overflow of emotions in his voice. The job was only half done. The team had to climb down another 7 hours of trekking. They ended their day with 17 hours of treacherous trek. But their sense of exhaustion took a back seat compared to their sense of achievement. Dream with your heart. Give all your elements. You will achieve your dream. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. I dreamt with my heart to start a nursery for young children. I gave my blood and sweat for it. A long journey of 11 months, I finally opened a nursery. Because God would not put a dream in your heart unless you have everything that you need to achieve it. Dare to dream. Not the dreams that you see in your sleep. Not the dreams that you think in your head, but the dreams that you inscribe in your heart. Over to Jensen.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you for that, sharing that experience. Timer, can we know how much time Toastmaster Priya took? Toastmaster Sudhi, timer? Timer, are you there? Hello.
Yeah, she took 1 minute 2 second extra.
So that is 8 minutes and 32 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Evaluators, are you ready to move to the breakout room? Evaluators are too busy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would request Jinesh to take, Jinesh, can you take them to the breakout room and
yeah,
them to
Toastmaster Dean will be taking them to
Dean. Okay, cool. Yeah. So Toastmaster Dean, can you take them to the breakout room and time for 5 minutes. Evaluators, preparation time is 5 minutes. So once you're moving to the breakout room, Dean will keep track of time, start preparing, and then you'll be called out as per the speaking order. Now, we know the evaluators coming out first will get lesser time, and since this is online, the evaluators coming later will get more time. We're just following the regular contest structure. The actual contest would be slightly different. Here, the key objective is to improve on and learn our analytical and evaluation skills. Cool. So, Dean, please go ahead and move the evaluators into the breakout room. Dean?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. You did, huh? Okay, no, I can still see evaluators over here. There's Mahalakshmi.
One
there's
second.
Devi.
They need to accept a request.
Yes, yes. Evaluators, please accept the request to move to the breakout room. Do we have 9 evaluators in the breakout room? There is Anaga still here. Evaluator number 5. There's Ajay here, evaluator number 6.
They have to accept it.
Yeah, Anaga and Ajay, can you please accept the request to move into the breakout room? Toastmaster Anaga?
Jinesh is there to support them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Anaga is still here, so maybe she's not able to hear us. All right, so now,
Do you have any problem?
No, fine. As long as, as soon as Anaga accepts, we can move her into the evaluation of the breakout room. That is fine. Or at least we have to move her into the breakout room before the first evaluator starts, begins the evaluation. So may I request all the other members, our audience, to switch on your videos and let us have a quick discussion on, let us hear from you on your analysis. You all can switch on your video. Feel free to go ahead. Let us have we have 5 minutes while the evaluators prepare. So let us have a group discussion on, and hear your analysis on Toastmaster Priya's speech. This is open to the audience, not just to the panelists, so feel free. So I can see, does anybody want to go first? Does anybody want to share your feedback, your analysis? I can see Toastmaster Rajan Narayanan has displayed his video. Raminder Singh has switched on his video. Friends, if you don't switch on a video, doesn't mean I'm not going to pick you all. I will call your names out. Okay, Meenakshi, good, I can see you. Sudhir is there, cool. Sudhir, let us hear your analysis on Priya's speech. We have all the evaluators move to the breakout room. So let us just have a quick group discussion and listen to everybody's feedbacks. You're on mute, Sudhir. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be called out, so I did. I listened to her speech for the first half. Then later on, I got a call and I was not on the call. In the first half, I can tell. I mean, as usual, the expressions. I mean, that's a strength of her speech. Because her strength of her, I've seen Priya's speech earlier also. Her strength of her speech is a pause between the lines. And the way she delivers the expressions and the body language where it comes in, expressions and all. So those are the ones really gives that impact to her speech. So those are the highlights in her speech. And I could not, second half, I could not listen. I was caught up in a call. But overall, a good speech, a proper textbook speech, what we can use it as a reference.
Thank you, Sudhir. Toastmaster Deepa, do you want to share some of your feedbacks? I think Toastmaster Deepa is held up with something else. Meenakshi, do you want to go? Oh, no, Deepa is in. Okay, I have her phone. Okay. Toastmaster Deepa, let us hear from you.
I've listened to this speech some 2-3 years back in a division contest, and now I felt she has improved a lot. At time it was a real physical on a big stage, and she has improved a lot. But I miss those hand gestures and posture, what and all she showed over there, and it's a brilliant speech. That time itself we felt like it's a winning speech over there with a good message, and not like a contest speech. Maybe that's the reason that time also that was the analysis result. I mean, whatever we felt, it was not written on a contest style speech. Like the message is not repeated. It's like a storytelling. It's just a story. And then in our contest, we don't. I mean, judges are not giving good marks for this particular style. So if at all anybody is looking for a contest speech, maybe we have to look for a different structure. That's what I will suggest. Otherwise, it's a perfect speech, and well done, Priya. Again, I mean, inspiring us.
Yes, it is a nice, good story structure. Thank you, Deepa.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I can see Divya switched on her video. Divya, do you want to share your feedback? Oh, and I can see Meenakshi has unmuted herself. So let us start with Meenakshi. Okay, cool.
Hi, very good evening all. Priya, it was a lovely speech, and when you started with the message, it was like dream that inscribed in your heart. Dare to dream. Don't dream in your mind, and don't dream the dream which we are having. That was very powerful. That we used in the end of his speech also. That was very amazing. Where the word you used, and then the expression, and then the body language, everything was fantastic. And which I got lost in between, because you said that your husband, when you said my husband, and then suddenly when in the middle of the speech you got in the names, the character names, like Anup and I think and one more name. So which I was not able to connect. Who's your either you should, when you say that when I have my husband, when you in the beginning you could have said what's your husband name, and with that then we would have we followed you, your husband name is so and so. So in between you used that name where I was not able to catch that up. And then in the end you got it from your husband. You kept as a character, and then you got in the story, and then you told about your story also. The story moved into your achievement also. That was wherein I had a little bit of confusion there. Otherwise, I loved your speech.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for that. And I believe you are listening to the speech for the first time.
Yeah, first time. Yeah.
Okay. So perhaps that is a good feedback for you, Priya. Maybe the characters Meenakshi could not follow, or maybe there were too many characters. I can see Bandana totally excited and smiling. Bandana, do you want to share something?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So as per me, the speech was excellent. Nice craftsmanship of speech development you have. You build up the story really well, starting from conversation to bringing it to preparation. So I can see that overall it was 3 P's: preparation, persistence, and patience. Patience to keep dwelling on your dreams. So excellent take on that. You were clear, correct in your clarity or voice throw, and so again there was a good work done. At some places I felt that there was only one hand in use, like when you were saying at one point of time you were saying that finally they reached the summit. So there was only one hand in use. I could feel that you could have a smile there. A smile was missing. So that could have brought out even more impactful happiness from us. So actually, I was also smiling when you were telling that, but I saw you not smiling. I was like, okay, I think I'm feeling too much. So just a smile was missing. Vivid imagery, it was very well created. I could actually say that I was also walking on the glacier when you were telling, happily accompany me, corner of heart. I could actually feel those emotions. So it was very well done. Voice modulation, variety, pause, hand gestures, everything bang on. You were excellent. You have one less thing to worry about, and the most important thing is confidence that you possess. You are not scared of audience. So you already have one less quality to worry about as a speaker. So Thank you so much. It was a wonderful experience for me.
Just
Thank you,
Mr.
Mandana.
Jensen.
Thank you. Yeah, yes.
5 minutes.
Dinesh?
5 minutes is over now, right? So are we
Okay,
ready
so
to?
okay, let's begin. So so panelists, are you all ready? So we will evaluate the evaluators based on the judges' ballot. Analytical qualities 40%, recommendations 30%, technique 15%, and summation 15%. I believe the panelists have the judging ballot with you, right? So our first speaker is Toastmaster Deepika, our first evaluator. So Jinesh, yeah, let us hear from Deepika. Timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Timer, are you ready with timing? It is 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's welcome Deepika. Deepika? Okay. So we will have to wait for Deepika to come.
Never I have been evaluated by so many persons. Huh?
Yes, Priya.
I was actually thinking of the same, Priya. But today is like almost 12 or 13 people are evaluating. And beyond these evaluators, Jensen put to be fillers, put 2, 3
Again,
more.
evaluation.
Yeah. So I guess Deepika is still not in. Dean, is Deepika in? Deepika, yeah, we finally see you. Can you unmute yourself?
Toastmaster Jensen,
Yes.
Deepika's joined the main room.
We can see her. Yes, thank you, Jim. Deepika, can you say something?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We are loud and clear. Panelists, our first evaluator, Toastmaster Deepika. Deepika, your time is 2 to 3 minutes. The screen is yours. Please go.
Thank you, TM Jensen. Good evening, my fellow evaluators and moderator, and of course, the speaker, Priya. So I would start with congratulating Priya for giving us a very fantastic speech and sharing your personal story. I could see the flow of emotions on your face and the happiness on your face when Deepak achieved that dream. So I will go, I think, step by step for the benefit of this, because we are learning about the structure, content, and delivery. So I will start with the structure first. I found your speech quite structured in the sense that it was mentioned in the chronological order. So you started with February 28, 2014, and you started with hello, hello, and a very good choice of words and expressions and very clear voice. In fact, your modulation in the voice was also very clear, that hello, and then you reduce your voice hello. So it was very good from that perspective. And of course, the sequence of emotion, to me, it looked like that you were a little worried in the beginning, and then it started, then you had excitement in your voice. And then you took us on a very relatable, personal roller coaster journey of emotions. So a great structure from that perspective. Then you also said that Deepak practiced very hard, and he had only 4 months to achieve the goal, and he walked for 15 minutes every day, and then he headed to the beach, and then he also had 10 kg of backpack on his back, and he practiced 15 kilometers every day on the beach, and so on. So the entire journey was quite interesting and quite engaging, to be quite honest. I was really looking forward to that. Oh, what happened? When injury happened, I thought, oh, was it Deepak's injury or Anoop's injury? So from that perspective, you created a twist also in the audience mind. So that was really good. Now, in terms of content, you covered actually, from the time you said hello, hello, to the time when you heard Deepak's voice, which was feeble, weak, and he said he did it. And then you could hear the overflow of emotions in his voice. So that was great. And you also had pauses at appropriate places, like dare to dream. And it was quite a powerful and impactful way that you say that dare to dream, not the dreams that you see in your sleep, but the dreams that are inscribed in your heart. So that was really, really good. Choice of words, when you said pitch dark, sub-freezing temperature, very, very powerful words. And I could actually feel myself that, you know, it was pitch dark, and I could feel that, you know, I'm feeling cold. It's sub-freezing temperature and treacherous, exhausting climb. And then you also mentioned that a feeble emotional voice. So very good usage of powerful words and pauses at the appropriate places. High impact sentences, of course, you know, all these words, they actually constructed and led to a high impactful sentences, which was again great. If I have to just, you know, say a couple of things that I felt that, you know, could have been better. Number one is that when you said hello, hello in the beginning, I was expecting that it's probably any tragic, you know, any tragic story or an incident or anything which is not really good that you are going to share. But the way you said hello, hello, the face expression was like something unpleasant. But then you said dare to dream. So probably, you know, from maybe it's only could be linked with the limitation in the space, but I could not relate to from hello, hello to dare to dream. So that bridge, I felt that kind of lost, because I thought that it would be a tragic story, but it ended up in being a very high achieving incident, personal achievement, and so on. So that's where I felt a little disconnect. And that's where I felt that, you know, you could have done a little bit better. Probably hello, hello could have been, you know, that call, that call on Feb 20th, 2014 changed the way my husband dreamt about something. So it could have been, probably is just one of the suggestions. Other than that, it was such a fantastic speech, and great call back to action also. The way you ended, dreams that inscribed in your heart, unless God has given you all the resources to achieve it. Very, very relatable, very, very personal and emotional speech. And thank you, Priya, for sharing, you know, your personal story and this wonderful experience with all of us. And excellent job done. Congratulations, Priya. Thanks.
Thank you, Deepika. Thank you for that evaluation. One thing I wanted to ask you, could you see the timer, or did you pin the timer? No, okay. So my fault. I should have
no, I didn't do that. I'm sorry for this.
No, it was my fault. I should have reminded the evaluator to pin the timer. Timer, could you tell us how much time Deepika took?
Yes, she took a 6 minutes 40 seconds.
Okay, thank you. No problem. So now can we have the second evaluator, that is Toastmaster Baby, in the room? Toastmaster Baby.
I couldn't see him. I think maybe he exited the meeting.
Oh, okay, okay. Maybe he hopefully comes back. So then let us move to the third evaluator, Toastmaster Subbu. If Toastmaster Baby comes back, then we will.
Toastmaster Subbu, apparently, please make sure that while you're leaving.
What is it? Can we have?
Do you want to move the third one?
Yes, third one. Since Toastmaster Baby is not in the meeting room, right? He accidentally left the meeting room, is what you say?
Yeah, he's not there.
Yeah, okay. We can have the third evaluator then. Let us go ahead with Toastmaster Subbu.
Okay.
Jensen, Subramaniam has joined the main meeting.
Yes, yes, we can see him. Hello, Toastmaster Subramaniam. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you see the timer?
Right, yeah.
You can see the timer, right? Timing is 2 to 3 minutes.
Jensen?
Yes. Okay, baby's here. So, okay, we could not find you. So let us, since baby has come, then let us go with the original sequence itself. Subramaniam, I'll have to request you to go back into the breakout room, please. Apologies for the inconvenience.
So,
we will start with Dean. Yeah, Dean, can you help?
Let me move him. One second.
Okay.
Yeah, Toastmaster baby, can you see the timer?
Who is the timer? Shruti. There is
Shruti,
1 minute. I am not able to see. Ah, yes. I have to pin it, right?
Yes, if you want, you can pin, or you can put it on gallery view so you can see everybody. Timing is 2 to 3 minutes.
Yeah, so I have to see pin video.
Toastmaster Dean, can we move Toastmaster Subramaniam to the breakout room?
Yeah, I moved to him to the another meeting.
But I'm still here only, Dean.
Yeah,
you are there?
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to move a person second time, right?
Okay.
Subbu, you will see an option to join the breakout room again. If you see the, you will see an option to see the breakout room at the bottom. And if you click on that, you will see an option to join the breakout room again. Do you see that?
Sorry, Ginny. Okay, breakout rooms. Okay, fine, yeah.
Yeah, you can join back. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, okay, so this is how we learn new features in Zoom every day. So thank you, Jinesh, for the support. And Dean. Toastmaster baby, you're ready? Okay.
Yes,
yeah.
just 1 minute. Yeah.
Timing
Yes,
is 2 to 3
yes,
minutes.
sir. I am ready. Yes.
Timing is 2 to 3 minutes. You can see the timer.
Yeah.
Yeah, evaluate this. Ready? Panelists? Okay. So I will, evaluator 2, Toastmaster baby. The screen is yours.
Yeah. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests. What a wonderful speech delivered by Priya Nambiar. Dare to dream. She spoke about the dreams. She was not referring to the dreams which we normally see in our sleep. She specified the dreams which we have to inscribe in our hearts. The structure of the speech was very good. She specified, or she vividly explained about 2 dreams. One dream of her husband, the other dream about her own dream, which she was inscribing in her heart, of the dream of starting a nursery of her own. She explained very well the efforts which a dreamer has to take. And she also specified that the God will not allow you to place a dream in our heart unless we have all the resources to accomplish that dream. So these are the 2 elements which I liked about her speech. Her voice modulation was very strong. The clarity with which she delivered the speech was excellent. She had pauses wherever required. Now coming to the improvement part, what I noticed is, if she had added a humor element in her speech, she could have taken this speech in a different level. Plus, if she had given little bit attention on the timing element, she had overshot the time by 1 minute and 30 seconds. So overall, a very good speech, very good opening, and very good structure, and very strong messages to the audience. I felt that I will not forget this speech. I heard her speech before also. I was always impressed with her speech, and this has become a better speech than the speech she delivered before. And I am sure in future also she will deliver much better and better speech. And I am seeing a potential to win the international speech in Priya Nambiar. Over to you, Priya.
Thank you, baby. I'm taking over instead of Priya. Thank you for that.
Okay,
Timer, can you Timer, can you quickly tell me the time? How much Toastmaster baby took?
He took 5 seconds extra only.
So 3 minutes, 35 seconds.
Yeah.
35 seconds or 3 minutes, 5 seconds?
3 minutes, 5 seconds.
3 minutes, 5 seconds. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am qualified, I think.
Yes, yes, you are.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Dean or Janesh, can we have Toastmaster Subramaniam?
Yeah. Jensen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Subramaniam has joined the main meeting.
Yeah, Subramaniam, welcome to the main room. Can you see the timer?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Panelists, I hope you are ready. Our third evaluator for the evening, Toastmaster Subramaniam. Toastmaster Subramaniam, screen is yours.
Okay. When I hear this kind of speech, the one famous quote, which was told by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, is coming into my mind. Dreams are not what you see in your sleep. They are the things that don't let you sleep. This is the tagline which Priya Nambiar, Toastmaster Priya Nambiar, she has taken for the speech. Good evening to all Toastmasters and panel evaluators. In this world, nothing comes easy. Put your sweat, put your blood to achieve the goal. That's a dream. So this is the main content of this speech. Dare to dream. By taking this word, she has narrated a beautiful story of her own life experience connected with her husband's lifetime achievement. The structure was very well structured and very well designed. It was very appealing. Right from the beginning, it was amazing and it was a fantastic story, and which was really inspiring, and it was really connected to the audience. When it comes to the content, the speech content, starting from to end till end, it was completely talked about the dream. So dream means it will not let you down. So always you have to strive hard, whatever may be the difficulties you face in between. Like she has given one of two example. Even though one of his friend got injured, even then he didn't leave the dream. He tried to continue with the dream to achieve the dream till he achieved the final destiny. That is a most important thing. The delivery, the eye contact, the body language, the expression. Example, the first expression when she started saying hello, she has completely used the full of body action and the gesture movement. Everything was so good. All along the way, the speech was completely amazing, but I would like to give few suggestions. Only one thing, the content she has to take care of it because it has exceeded the time. Otherwise, all in all, it was a fantastic speech. To sum up It was a good story. It was very well structured, very well delivered. And to take care of the content, to give the speech within the time, then it will be an amazing speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Subramanian. Toastmaster Suti, can you tell us how much time Toastmaster Subramanian took?
Yeah, he took a 3 minutes 28 seconds.
3 minutes 26. Thank you. Jinesh, Dean, can we have our next evaluator, Toastmaster Hema, in the main room?
Jensen,
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mahalakshmi and Hema has swapped their speaking order. So Mahalakshmi will be the fourth speaker and Hema will be the eighth speaker.
Okay. Can we have Toastmaster Mahalakshmi? The panelists, please make a note. Our fourth evaluator is Toastmaster Mahalakshmi. Toastmaster Mahalakshmi.
Mahalakshmi has just entered the main room now.
Okay, she joined.
She is joined. Can we see Toastmaster Mahalakshmi? Yes, we can see you. Can you unmute yourself? Yes.
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah, okay. We can hear you. Can you see the timer?
Yes, I can do it. I did pin the timer also.
Okay, timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Toastmaster Mahalakshmi, the screen is yours.
Right. Dare to dream. God wouldn't put you there unless you have dreamed for. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests and moderator. TM Priya delivered a true inspirational speech with a strong message. The way she described how his husband's dream come to true, though he was in mid-40s. Every speech need a story. On top of that, if it has a screenplay, it would be even better. I felt TM Priya had a nice story and she scripted very well with a good screenplay along with the dialogues. She bring all her characters one by one slowly. Right from the beginning, she started with how she and her husband, the interaction, what is his dream all about, whether he achieved the dream or means like how he is hardworking heading towards the dream. She explained nicely in the beginning. Also,
Wait,
she
நான் திருப்பி கால் பண்ணி பாரு. Phone off பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கேன்.
how he is not achieving his dream because of his work and etc., which happened to all of us. However, where she started his story from there to with the timeline, whether it's the opening with the February 24 something, and in between she mentioned the timeline one by one. So she actually bring the audience to the story with a timeline, which is really, like I can just travel along with her throughout the journey. And next thing, her voice modulation is really helped me to understand how his husband is actually passionate about his achieving his dream, whether it be how he is like not achieving his dream or practicing, or whether he goes for a practicing the way how he is working hard heading towards achieving the thing. And also when he is traveling or climbing or trekking along with the cousin and etc., so she's narrating the way how when he pitching drought, less oxygen, how he exhaustive, the way her gesture and the facial expression is really truly matters for me as an audience. I really engaged and I feel like it's a motivational speech. So all the elements of motivational expression and gestures were there. However, she mentioned Anup and Deepak in between. Really, I was little confused. Who's Anup? Who's Deepak? Whether husband or cousin? If she mentioned in the beginning, my husband this name, my cousin this name, I would have connected immediately. I was a little confused, but later I managed to get into the picture. And that thing. Second thing, dare to dream. If I don't know, like whether his husband dream from the childhood dream, or it's in between he want to achieve this all of a sudden. If she mentioned with my husband's dream from the childhood, I would have understand better, but I don't know whether, but whatever she narrates very well. But if it mentioned, it would be even clear to all of us whether we have to dare to dream, we should not give up the end of the age. And yes, emphasize on and also the wife part. In between, like the message when she climbed the mountain, she got a call. I don't know whether his husband, after climbing the call, the phone message. So these are the small things. As an audience, when you tell the story, you should have, I mean, like if you mentioned little clear, I would have understand better that way. So overall, the message was strong. Priya had like streamlined the story very well with a strong screenplay, with simple characters, with facial expression. So overall, it's a very truly inspirational story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahalakshmi. Thank you for that. Prema, can we know how much time Toastmaster Mahalakshmi took?
Yeah, she took a 4 minutes 30 seconds.
4 minutes 30 seconds. Okay. Dean, can we have our next evaluator, Toastmaster Anaga, in the main room?
Yeah, she's joining.
Anaga, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can you? No, we can't hear you now. Can you unmute yourself?
Hello. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes. Can you see the timer? It is 2 to. Can you see the timer? Have you pinned the timer?
Yes.
Timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Your evaluator number 5, Toastmaster Anaga. Anaga, the screen is yours.
A very good evening, fellow Toastmasters. A special good evening to Toastmaster Priya. Toastmaster Priya today successfully dared me to dream. The speech was well structured with a strong introduction, body, and conclusion. The transitions from one topic to the next was done amazingly well. She chose a very apt title to a brilliant speech. Priya started off on a very strong note by engaging with the audience and asking us if we dare to dream. Her gestures were immaculate and she used the stage space very well. She brought in her husband's adventurous attitude brilliantly. His story connected to me personally very, very strongly, as it really did inspire me. She portrayed a mixture of her and her husband's emotions perfectly well. The plight of a devoted wife who doesn't know what's happening with her husband was portrayed very well in her speech. I liked how Toastmaster Priya used very descriptive language, as I felt that was very important and relevant in her speech to give us visual effects. Priya's pride towards the conclusion when he finally completed his dream was very well portrayed, as she was definitely beaming. Towards the end, Priya brought in her own dream and she explained how she successfully achieved it, which was a very nice touch. And finally, she concluded on the same note as her introduction, which was a very nice recall for the audience. In terms of suggestions, the first suggestion that I would offer is timing, as timing seemed to be an issue for Priya as she took 1 minute extra, which could have been avoided if she had practiced her speech very well in advance and used a timer in her hand for effect. The second suggestion that I would offer is open-ended questions. So I felt that she could have used open-ended questions throughout her speech, which would have engaged us more. So she could have asked questions like, do you have a similar dream? Or have you achieved your dream? So that way I would have felt much more connected. Now to wrap it all up, she showed her emotions throughout the speech very well, used very apt language and had great content. Just the 2 suggestions of timing and open-ended questions. Thank you. Over to you, Jensen.
Thank you, Anaga. Timer, can we know how much time Toastmaster Anaga took?
Yeah, she took 2 minutes, 50 seconds.
50. Okay. Thank you, Toastmaster Stuti. Dean, can we have Toastmaster Ajay, our next evaluator, in the main room?
Yep.
Evaluator number 6. Yeah. Toastmaster Ajay.
Ajay has joined the main room now.
Ajay has joined the meeting. We can't see him. Yes, Toastmaster Ajay, can we see you? Can we hear you? Can you unmute yourself? Toastmaster Ajay. Toastmaster Ajay. Yes, can you unmute yourself? Can you say? Okay.
Am I audible right now?
Yes, you're audible and visible. Can you see the timer?
Yeah, 1 minute. Let me pin the timer. Yeah, I have pinned the timer.
Okay, timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Toastmaster Jay, the screen is yours.
If you are sleeping over there at your rooms in those cozy couch, let me tell you something. Dare to dream. And if you are dreaming in your sleep, let me tell you this too. It's not a real dream. Dreams are inscribed in your heart. Good evening, Toastmasters and guests, and a very good evening to my fellow Toastmaster, Priya Nandya, who delivered her speech with a well-classed, well-structured Hollywood movie with thrills and chills. From the beginning, Dare to Dream, with a great post, had a great impact on what she was coming up with. Yes, it was really cooking something fishy. And she took us to a journey where her husband was climbing the Kilimanjaro. Her husband was hiking the Kilimanjaro with his cousin Anup. A lot of emotions were cultivated throughout the script, and it was well reaped towards the end. There was a good sense of the content where she was really manipulating or really interpreting her husband's dream as a midlife crisis. That really gave us a sense where we could relate to ours, that our dreams are sometimes interpreted as a midlife crisis or any other crisis when we tell this to someone. A well-structured speech with a good opening where you pulled everyone together and you took the journey to the Kilimanjaro. Now, there were a lot of good usages throughout the speech. The starting was with the Kilimanjaro. With a bit of surprise, you had added that Kilimanjaro, how you
Ajay, are you there, Ajay? I think Ajay got disconnected.
Yes, I think Ajay got disconnected. Let us wait for a few more seconds and see if he comes back.
Could the timer make a note of it?
Timer, please make a note. Can you pause the time? I think Toastmaster Jay got disconnected. Well, I guess we will have to move on to the next evaluator in this case. Dean, can we have our next evaluator, Toastmaster Ruchi?
Yeah.
Toastmaster Ruchi, can you unmute yourself?
Yes,
We can hear you. We can see you. Can you see the timer?
I can see the timer.
Okay, timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Toastmaster Ruchi, the screen is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters and guests, knowing when you're growing up, there are so many unpredictable problems and issues which come up in everyone's life. But the one thing that helps us continue in our journey is our dream. But do you really dare to dream is the question of the hour. So it is a topic that Toastmaster Priya has really brought to the audience, ensuring that each and every one of us will connect to it. What I loved about this topic is talking about something which is intangible. What is this dream that we're talking about? It's not a dream that you have when you're sleeping. It's not a daydream that she's talking about. She's talking about a dream that is inscribed into your heart. And because it's so true, God has given the tools to you to make it happen and make it true. So to actually make something which is intangible, a little bit more tangible, is a massive feat. And for that, I congratulate Toastmaster Priya. It immediately creates a connect with the audience. So well done on that. So the message has been very crystal clear from the very beginning, from the title to the overall flow of the speech. So we always knew what we were in for in this ride. Of course, what I really love about her speech is a story, or rather stories. And when there's a story in a speech, immediately I'm on board. So there was a story with all the emotions, an inspirational journey which had a conflict, which had a resolution, and the entire flow was beautiful. She used descriptive language, cold nights were tough, hijacking the opportunity. So beautiful words got our attention. I loved her hand gestures. She said, "Kill me." This is a sense of achievement. And she used her hands. She came front, back, forward, and she was with us throughout the journey. I even liked the fact that she had pauses with each and every date that she had mentioned. But before I say that is a very good speech, I have some opportunities that you can work on. One, very important to me, is I think you were missing something which I felt was authenticity. Because you were talking about your husband's journey, 90% of your speech was what your husband is feeling, how he is cold, how he's upset, and how he is suffering. But that connect is missing because you were not there. You were not even there to see it. You were somewhere else, and you're narrating the story from what you heard from him. So somewhere I feel authenticity for me is missing. And the second is voice modulation. You were very inspirational throughout, but somewhere you needed some slow voice for some parts of the speech. For example, this was the end. So that would have really helped. Overall, fantastic speech. You knew what you were doing, very clear, very beautifully done, from hand gestures to the story to the relatability. Just 2 things to change and you'd be a fantastic speaker. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Ruchi. Toastmaster Subi, can I ask you how much time Toastmaster Ruchi took for the
yeah, she took 3 minutes, 57 seconds.
57 seconds, 3 minutes, 57 seconds. Toastmaster Jay, are you back?
Yes, I am back.
Panelists, we just want to check with you. Do we ask Ajay to continue from where he got disconnected, or do we ask him to start from the beginning? Panelists?
He can continue. I think he was there. He had finished his analysis, I think.
Okay, yes. Toastmaster Suti, can you tell us at what time did Toastmaster Ajay get disconnected?
I think on after green light, green color.
2 minutes. So let us start at 2 minutes perhaps, and Toastmaster Ajay will have 90 seconds more to complete the evaluation. Toastmaster Ajay, are you in? Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes. 1 second. Let me pin the time.
Okay. 90 seconds. So Toastmaster Sudhi, you show the yellow light at 2:30 and red at 3 minutes now. That is at 1 minute and 1 minute. Sorry, at 30 seconds and 1 minute. Are you clear? Timer. At 30 seconds, you show the yellow light. At
Okay.
60 seconds, you show the red light.
Okay. Okay.
We can start with the green. Yeah. Okay, Ajay, back to you.
One of the best things what Priya had her speech was that she started her speech with a right cornered dialogue. That is a such set of where she had emphasized on how close it is to each one of us. Now, with some of the improvements, your speech could be a better speech. Like where you had mentioned about Kilimanjaro, there was a bit of less spice for that, so that we couldn't feel that how painful it is, how effortful it is to conquer the Kilimanjaro. The second thing is at workout style, like you had mentioned that he had to go up 5 times 5 stories, making up a sentence with a sequence of 5, 10, 15, like 5 stories, 10 hours of workout, and 15 kilometers of walk. So that could have made an impact into the audience. Now, in respect to the usage of space on the space screen, it was like centered, and you were mostly using your left side and not much of the right. There was a few movements which could have been restricted to this side so that the whole usage of the space was even, and it would have been a great speech. Overall, a great speech with a great story. A bit of personal touch would add a great element to the speech. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ajay. The timer, can you tell us how much time Toastmaster Ajay took?
Yeah, he took 3 minutes 20 seconds.
3 minutes 20 seconds. Okay. Thank you. Can we have? I believe Shenbagarani is not here. Can we ask our next evaluator, Toastmaster Hema, to Dean? Can you escort Toastmaster Hema into the main room? Dean?
Yeah.
Toastmaster Hema, can you unmute yourself? Can you say something?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can see you. Can you see the timer?
Yes, let me pin her. Okay.
Timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Toastmaster Hema, the screen is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster Jensen. Good evening, Toastmasters, and a special good evening to our target speaker, Priya Nambiar. Priya, you made us all to rekindle our dreams. You dared us to dream our dreams again today. There is a famous saying by Abdul Kalam, dream is not the one that you see while you are sleeping. It is something that does not allow you to sleep. So the same kind of a dream that you were sharing about today. So when I come to the analysis of your speech today, the way you started your speech with a startling statement and the body movements that you showed when you were talking about the call that you received and how you enacted that was really catchy. You had a good opening. Then you took us through a speech where you shared the journey of your husband's pursuing his dream of claiming, and how you withstood with him throughout the journey, and how you saw his dream come true. And that journey you shared with us and inspired us to pursue our dreams. And also you shared about your dream of pursuing starting a nursery, which you were successful after a long period of work. So you had a good opening, a good body, and a conclusion about pursuing the dreams. And in the way today we were discussing the content part of how the perseverance that your husband put on, and the emotional components of the dialogues that happened between your husband and your cousin, and the emotions that went through in that. You had used a wonderful choice of words when you were opening itself. You talked about the dream. There you used the power of triad, and again you emphasized that in the conclusion when you concluded the speech about the power of the triads. You again used again at the end. And when you were delivering, there was a great confidence in your delivery, and there was no interruption. It was a very well prepared speech from the beginning to end without any flaw throughout. So it was a great speech in terms of content and delivery. But any great speech can be made even greater through some improvements. So a couple of improvements that I could suggest are, maybe the opening could have been even more impactful, or you can also use the techniques of some twist. It's not just a dream. Maybe there could be a twist in the opening. Maybe that could help us to wonder how what she's going to talk about, kind of. And when you were talking in the beginning, there was a great emotions that were displaying, but as you progress towards the end of the speech, maybe the degree of the emotion levels went a little bit down. Maybe the success of your husband's dream did not come through so powerfully when you were talking about it. Maybe these are some components for improvement that you can think of. And in terms of pauses, you had good pauses in between as well. So overall, it was a great structure of the speech, good content. The emotional piece of delivery could be improved. So all the best for your future speeches.
Thank you, Toastmaster Hema. Timer, can you tell us how much time Toastmaster Hema took?
Yeah, she took 3 minutes, 37 seconds.
3 minutes, 37 seconds. Fine. We will now have our last evaluator, the Toastmaster Barak, into the main room. Dean, can you help us with that?
Yeah.
Toastmaster Barak, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I'm unmuted.
Yes, we can see you, we can hear you. Can you see the timer?
Let me pin the timer.
Yes, timing is 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, Toastmaster Barak, the screen is yours.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Dare to dream. We all start our morning, the usual morning, waking up from an alarm and a dream. But Priya had thrown us first engagement, first audience engagement, which wasn't a regular dream. It was a dream from the heart that takes us throughout the speech. So that was the first attention grabber in her speech. She had well used of body language and hand gestures just to give the speech the weight it deserves. After all, it is about a mountain challenge and not any mountain, it's Kilimanjaro. So she throws her hands to explain how giant is the challenge that her husband is challenging and facing. She had a very effective use of pauses just to give the audience times to digest the scenes of events. And she also then moved to link 2 stories, starting with her husband and the challenge that he takes upon in order to face, and also from the heart to prove that he is capable, and also in a very courageous ways that she described it. And then she moved to her story, their personal story, and how that sense of accomplishment and the actions that her husband have empowered her in order to open her nursery. She used a great voice modulation between high pitch and neutral, So my recommendation would be also to move to a lower pitch just to describe some certain events, like for example, when they're reaching the summit and then getting to the bottom. I thought reaching the summit was the end of the story, but then you could, use those voice modulation, and also the speech structure. Maybe it was highly focused on the link of the stories, which was great. However, you could also distribute it into some part onto the beginning, the introduction, and a little bit onto the end. And overall, it was very well-crafted speech, and that gave us the takeaway of how to take the challenge from the heart and dream from the heart. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Barak. Timer, can you tell us how much time Toastmaster Barak took?
Yeah, he took 3 minutes, 52 seconds.
52 seconds. All right, so panelists, we have a big task ahead of us. We are already ahead of, we have overshot time heavily. So we will have to do this as a quick rapid fire. Be as specific, be to the point, and be as short, crisp, and clear as we can. Are we ready to evaluate the evaluators? Panelists?
Yeah.
Ready? Good. Fantastic. So let us start with our first evaluator, Toastmaster Deepika. I will start with Priya. Priya, in terms of Deepika's analytical skills, which has like 40% of the scores, can you tell us how detailed, how deep, how helpful, or how structured was her analysis of Toastmaster Priya's speech?
Yes. Toastmaster Deepika tried to bring in the points which Priya had mentioned. So I would say her evaluation restricted to repeating what Priya said rather than analyzing and giving recommendation. So she took almost 5 minutes in repeating the same content as Priya said, which as audience we have all heard, therefore did not get time for recommendations.
Thank you, Toastmaster Priya. Toastmaster Ashish, do you agree? If you agree with whatever Toastmaster Priya said, then could you tell us what can Toastmaster Deepika do to change that? Or what is the technique you can recommend her to make it more effective?
I think just coming very specific to the point, the way I think Toastmaster Deepika approached is more like an appraisal of Priya rather than she has to remember that this is her 3 minutes on stage. I mean, it is less about Priya and more about her. So it's how she's talking to the audience, how she's making her point, rather than she going point by point like appraisal on Priya. So that is, I think, one fundamental shift she should do, so that then she can cut everything in time, recommendations, everything would fall in line. So if she makes that fundamental shift.
Thank you, Ashish. Toastmaster Manoj, how helpful or how deep or practically achievable do you think were Toastmaster Deepika's recommendations on Toastmaster Priya's speech?
No, actually, if I can take a second for everybody, all our speakers in general, all our evaluators, because almost all of them overshot their times. So one recommendations which my co-panelists have mentioned is, first of all, don't delve on what she said alone. You are making very specific points, bring out those points very, very clearly in the analysis. Be your recommendations, be smart, concise, with examples in every case, not general, and look at your yellow this. As soon as your yellow one comes up, the signboard comes up, the amber signboard, be ready to sum. The summation part should kick in 15 seconds. You should be, because otherwise, especially Toastmaster Deepika, you would have noted how she had to rush. In fact, I mean, she would have known that she finished. So recommendation, she delved quite a bit long on that, just repeating what she was saying. So it's about could not relate, and it repeatedly came across as the same point. Yeah.
Thank you, Toastmaster Manoj, for that. I do agree with the opinion of the panelists. So Toastmaster Deepika, a quick takeaway for you would perhaps be is try not to recap on whatever on the speaker's content, but tell us what was good, why was it good, and be a little more mindful of time. So it's about evaluating, not about appraising. So moving on to our next evaluator, that is Toastmaster Baby. Let us start with Ashish this time. Toastmaster Ashish, can you tell us your findings on Toastmaster Baby's analytical skills on Toastmaster Priya's speech?
Yeah, I think Toastmaster Baby, one thing which I liked about him, he was very sharp in his points. So he was like making his points pretty sharply. But I think what maybe I would have liked him to do is be a little more specific to the speech. His points were like, for example, voice modulation could have been better. There could have been humor. His recommendation was there could have been humor. But it's always better to give something specific. Where could she have brought in humor? Where humor could have had more impact? Otherwise, it becomes like a general evaluation which can be fitted to any speech. So that should not happen. It should be very specific with instances to the speech. So that is what I think he could have done better.
Okay, thank you, Ashish, for that. Priya, in terms of Baby's areas of recommendations, how helpful do you think it was, or how much of an impact it could have made into Priya's speech had Priya to consider it?
Yeah. As TM Ashish said, recommendation should be very specific. You have to say what could have been done better, why you could have done that better, and maybe give an example also how that you can do it better. So if that way you follow a what, how, why pattern, I think there would be more specificalities in your recommendation. Yeah. Then one thing I noticed in TM Baby's evaluation is that constantly I heard the phrase, she said, she did this. So rather than addressing the speaker as a she from that perspective, it would be nice if more effective if the evaluator said, I noticed that you said this. I wished you could have said that. So if that I perspective was brought in, then it would have been more encouraging as an evaluator.
So, and Toastmaster Manoj, would you want to add anything to whatever our co-panelists have just mentioned?
I have got one more point, which is also again will go across to various of this is because many of the evaluators did mention about the timing element as a recommendation. Just for people on competition, as far as I know, in my understanding, you do not know what is the timing of the speaker at the end of your speech. Normally, after this, you are given you are moved into the breakout room. So that is not a recommendation that you need to make on. That is for the speaker to think about. So please, in your future, remember that you are not going to make a recommendation on timing. And the second thing is that for Toastmaster Baby was pretty good, vivid in most of the cases, but summations always end up with a summation. He missed out on the summation part. Yeah, he had some more time. He had almost 25 seconds more. He could have utilized that. So
yes, yeah. Thank you for that, Toastmaster Manoj. In fact, that is a good point raised. Even the judges are not aware of the speaker's timing. Yeah. They are supposed to evaluate or judge the speeches without keeping in mind the time. So yes, that is a great point raised. Coming to a third evaluator, Toastmaster Subbu. So now we will start with Toastmaster Manoj. Toastmaster Manoj, in terms of Toastmaster Subramaniam's evaluation, his analytical skills, how deep, how much could he improve, or what are the areas he did really well?
So Toastmaster Subbu was pretty, very good opening out of till that time with the quote, bringing out that. Then he could have reinforced it a little bit on, especially when he talked about trials, etc. Because he mentioned sweat, blood, but if he had sweat, blood, and tears, yeah, it would make a little bit more contents. Otherwise, analytical wise, I would say, okay, he was quite a bit examples, everything here. He talked about delivery also with examples of eye contacts and everything, body language. Recommendations also was only very general, only exceeded time. So that was, and no summation. I didn't hear any summation.
No summation, yes. Toastmaster Priya, do you want to add anything to that?
It's almost the same. Started with a quote which was unique till then. Again, it was specific recommendations were missing, and the time went in repeating what TM Priya Nambiar had already said.
Yes. Ashish, anything else do you want to share in this?
No, I think something very specific on time management. I think evaluators have to remember 45% of the marks are for recommendation and summary, and most of the evaluators started after the yellow light, which is just about a minute maximum. So I mean, broadly you should have that percent. So 15% out of your 3 minutes should be for summary, 40%. I mean, so roughly we have to divide. Otherwise, and so again in Toastmaster Subramanian's case, he used too many adjectives, I think, in his so amazing speech, great speech, becomes a bit repetitive. I mean, you want to encourage a speaker, but I mean, you also have to be mindful of your time there.
Yeah, so we have to go quickly recap on the first three speakers. I think one common area we have discovered is they need to be a lot more specific on the what, how, and why. Are they finding something useful or something they're finding something to be improved upon? So maybe a little more specific on the elements of the speech would help Toastmaster Deepika, Vedi, and Toastmaster Subbu. Moving on to our fourth evaluator, Toastmaster Mahalakshmi. So this time I will start with Toastmaster Priya. Please share your thoughts on Toastmaster Mahalakshmi's analytical skills and how did she approach it? Yeah.
Yes, Toastmaster Mahalakshmi started on in a very structured manner where she mentioned script, character, interaction. The three parts of her speech was mentioned, which was quite a good highlight. And what I liked is she was the first person who mentioned timeline. In Toastmaster Priya's speech, the timeline which she followed was a unique. So Mahalakshmi had used that. She gave a lot of examples where Deepak, Anoop, she did not understand who they were, etc. So I would say there was a lack of clarity in the content of Priya's speech. So if all evaluators refer the evaluation sheet, they will get the specific words that's required to refer their points. So when we say lack of clarity in the content, then you give an example, Deepak, Anoop, rather than going on, then it's wasting the time.
Yes, yes. Ashish, what about how helpful do you think Mahalakshmi's recommendations were to Priya in terms of
I think at least for me, Mahalakshmi's recommendation stood out of all the 10. One of the few, at least, I mean, I think people also have to realize that after a point of time, we saw in the international speech, vocal variety, stage presence, you can split hairs, even the winner, you can point out flaws. So you have to be really something radical recommendations, creative, which can really help the person change the speech in a very radical way, rather than giving very minor, that you could have done this here or that. So I think in that sense, her recommendation was something very fundamental, where maybe using character names and relating to the character names, at least it gives some fundamental direction to her. So I really thought her recommendations stood out. But again, she started very late, so I think she rushed it.
Yes. And Toastmaster Manoj, would you want to add anything to this?
I think no, it's they have covered everything in that regard, so we can go ahead. I don't know.
All right. So with regards to Toastmaster Mahalakshmi, maybe a little more structure or being a little more aware of the time and not wasting too much time on the analysis, jumping into the recommendations and our recommendations were again practically.
Only one point which I would say is on a grammatical side, just watch the gender, Mahalakshmi. I noticed that a little bit. She missed the gender quite a bit.
That is correct. There was some confusion with the he and the she. Yes. So Mahalakshmi, that is something you may have to work upon. Coming to our next evaluator, Toastmaster Anaga. I'll start with Manoj this time. Manoj, what are your thoughts on Toastmaster Anaga's evaluation?
Yeah, very good, very good youngster coming out very well for Toastmasters, pretty well. And suggestions were not, I would say again, timing and open questions. I couldn't bring that out. Structure, analytical wise was okay. However, Anaga has got one issue in terms of the speed of the Wi-Fi connectivity, probably because we couldn't relate to her voice and it was coming at different times. So she has to be aware of that. And the summation, missed out the summation. She was quite yeah, she did the summation, but okay. Good.
Yeah, Ashish, anything to add on Toastmaster Anaga's?
Yeah, I think she was the best in terms of time management. She actually was the only one who finished before time. So and she started recommendations on time. She may, I mean, again, just maybe, I mean, I will not go into the contest mode, but even if when you give a suggestion that she should improve time, how should she improve time? I mean, just saying improve, we know she took more time, but okay, what about it? So what can she do? So you can add a little more layer of your analysis on that. And again, I think she had a golden chance of killing it on summary, which she lost it because she actually had a lot of time for the summary, but it was a very hasty summary. So she could have really, because I think nobody had a good summary out of the 10 because most of them fell short of time. she was the only one who had a good chance, and she, I thought, kind of let it go.
Yeah, and one of the things I also observed with Anaga was she completed an analysis by the time it was green. Green to yellow was her recommendations, and she did have enough time. But again, Anaga, so that may be one area you may need to work upon. Priya, do you want to add anything? Do you want to on regards to Anaga's evaluation?
Just wanted to tell Anaka that she was one person who mentioned a closed cycle in her evaluation. This I have learned from senior Toastmasters, where it's good if you, in your evaluation, you mention that from introduction, like when Priya started the intro by that hello conversation, she concluded it again back there. So it was a closed cycle. So Anaka was the only person who mentioned that. I felt that good.
That was good. So Anaga is pretty strong on analytics. Maybe a little more practicing the technique might improve, might help. Coming to Ajay, again, I believe Ajay had some connection issues, but let us focus on the analytics and the recommendations Ajay had to share. Ashish, do you want to begin?
No, I think Ajay also, I think I felt somewhere that he was a little he had examples, but he didn't relate them to the point. So he said, okay, this is the suggestion, okay, descriptive language, but then the example was something else. He kind of repeated what was there in the speech. So it was a little, he gave specific examples from the speech, but it was not related. And I think, but what I really liked, I mean, just taking off, I think he had the best eye contact in the entire time. I mean, even though his camera was not very clear, I felt that he was talking to the audience. So his delivery in that sense was pretty good.
Yes. Ajay had a strong delivery, even I would agree to that. Priya, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, he had the good usage of the camera where he came close and moved left. So that virtual usage of the virtual platform was well handled. He used the word manipulating and interpreting, which manipulating is a little negative sort of a word. So I prefer if he used interpreting, which would be a more encouraging word.
Yeah, okay. And Toastmaster Manoj?
Yeah, he had a, I mean, corresponding to everybody else's recommendations, was the recommendation of usage of stage was also different to what anybody else had suggested. So that's always a unique point, but giving good examples of also doing that. So he did that. And on camera, he used the camera, like everybody said. The only thing I felt was that when you're doing that, it's a very good technique. However, you need to practice, because at sometimes he was so you have to be very careful that you practice and you learn what is the distance you need to maintain, how you do it.
Agreed. Yeah, that is true. And one more thing is, even if Toastmaster Ajay's delivery was very powerful, I think in the judges ballot, the only area we can score him is in the technique side, which is just 15%. So even then, I think there is a lot of work he needs to do in terms of the analytics and the recommendations. Moving on to Toastmaster Ruchi. I'll start with you, Toastmaster Manoj. Yes.
Actually, I found Ruchi's was one of the good evaluations, definitely, and quite a bit of analysis also done. Repeated some of the points which she said. Recommendations were also, authenticity was something which, subjective, but she gave the example of why she felt it that way. Voice modulation also, so it's two unique recommendations with examples. That's very good. Overran the time and could have summarized everything and closed it in a very powerful manner. Yeah.
Priya, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, even I felt Ruchi was confident in handling the evaluation. The authenticity was a unique recommendation. Actually, where was Priya in the speech? That question was very well highlighted. She made a mention of the good vocabulary TM Priya used, which I felt should have mentioned by every evaluator. She had a strong language in her content. So, however, time, yes, definitely, it overshot, so that could be taken care of.
Okay. And Ashish, coming to you on Toastmaster Ruchi's evaluation.
Yeah, I mean, unique evaluation, one of the best recommendations, definitely. But maybe to again split the hair, maybe she could have just stretched it a little bit. So what maybe Toastmaster Priya could have done? Maybe she could have suggested that instead of talking about her husband's story, she could have told her story about the school and made it a first-person story. So maybe she could have just stretched it and closed it that way. And I think one main recommendation for her is she sits close to the camera. So eye contact is an issue. She has to look at the camera, not at the gallery. So because that becomes a little, when she has such a great style and her speaking style is good, that disengages a little bit.
The eye contact. Thank you for that. That is a very valuable feedback over there. So in terms of Toastmaster Ruchi, maybe being a little more mindful of time and elaborating on why you felt authenticity was missing could have perhaps helped. Cool. Moving on to Toastmaster Hema. So let us start with you, Priya, this time.
Yeah. Toastmaster Hema used the word rekindle the dream. I felt that was a good usage. Use the same quote as APJ Abdul Kalam. So here I felt whenever we are introducing our evaluation, let's make a good choice of quote. Let's go for a quote or something that's quite unique, not common. When it comes to dream, everybody will think of APJ Abdul Kalam's dream. That could be a common factor. So that portion of uniqueness was missing. What I liked there is she mentioned about the emotional connection and flow in Priya's speech, which I felt was a good mention and recommendation which she gave. The initial emotional flow and outburst which we saw in Priya's speech did dwindle down a bit towards the concluding part, which TM Hema rightly pointed out. I felt that was good.
Recommendations were unique. Toastmaster Manoj, what do you want to add to that?
I say that Toastmaster Hema's think the recommendations were quite appropriate. Content analysis was okay. Where I would say is you mentioned about pauses, but you didn't mention the impact of the pauses or what you found on the pauses, which was so that's one. Summation she did sum it up at the end, so that was okay. In general, it is a fine one. Again, watch your timings a little bit, sharpen it up, and opening, take Priya's recommendations, and whenever you quote somebody as well, if it takes a bit of time, but then the person is not known in the international circle, probably just re-emphasize what's the person's background.
Yes, yes. And coming to Ashish, what do you want to?
Yeah, two things for Toastmaster. One, I think again, like Toastmaster Deepika, speak to the audience, not the speaker. That's one very important. You are not speaking to the Toastmaster Priya. You're speaking to the entire audience. So it's your time. And I think again, for many people, too many good morning Toastmasters, friends, because that seconds are important, and that honestly is not adding value to your speech. Too much of platitudes. I know that's a style, we are used to that, but I mean in an evaluation where every second is working. So good evening Toastmasters, my guests, friends, Toastmaster Priya. So you already lost 15 seconds there. So people, you have to be mindful of these things.
Yes, in fact, as you mentioned, as we mentioned earlier also, technique is the only area where they can actually score on if we go by the judges' verdict. But if as much as time if you can spend on the analytics and the recommendations, that itself should give you all 70 points out of 100. Yes, and coming finally to Toastmaster Barak, Ashish, I'll start with you.
Yeah, again, what I really liked was his analysis was really good. He was one of the most encouraging evaluations, if I can put it. Very encouraging, very positive, and the tone was very, inspiring in a way. But again, the same things. Too much time in good morning and in the initial to come to the point fast. Be specific. I mean, I would really like, okay, opening, this is my point 1, this is my point 2, this is my point 3, and just be very crisp and clear rather than kind of be a lot of thing. And so because of that, again, too late for recommendation, then the recommendations were very weak. Yeah, I think he just talked about voice modulation, which becomes a very general recommendation. Maybe it's 7 out of 10 people will give it. Difficult to stand out. So you should kind of focus more on giving some really creative recommendations, which may be his opinion. I mean, that's again for many other evaluators also.
Yeah. Toastmaster Manoj?
Yeah, I think I agree with Toastmaster Ashish that in terms of analysis, well done. On recommendations, you mentioned low pitch, which like Ashish mentioned, and then story content structure. I didn't find anything to back that up a little bit to see what would be the actual, so that would have helped. And then again, summation. Please do not forget to sum the whole thing.
Priya, how do you want to conclude?
Yeah, I do agree with what TM Manoj and TM Ashish said. TM Barak had a very vibrant body language, which was motivating the audience and the speaker. That is a highlight. We all appreciate that. And the specifications and recommendation was missing. Voice modulation is very a general recommendation. But if you have something about voice modulation, mention that with an example, how the speaker could have made it. Voice modulation definitely is a recommendation, a general one, but give a strong example to complement your recommendation. I think that would fetch you marks. So always it is about what, how, and why, I believe.
Thank you, Priya, for that. So I believe one of the common things we've discovered in most of our evaluators today is we are trying to recap what the speaker has said. Let us try and not do that. Let us try and convey, give actual feedbacks rather than recapping the same content. And learning from experience, one thing I can tell all the evaluators is this comes only if you keep giving more and more evaluations. So please try and take up as much as evaluation roles as you all can, because the more we evaluate, the better we understand the elements of a good speech and the better we can communicate and convey our feedback to the speaker. Sometimes we may also have a lot of points that we would have analyzed. Not be pressurized to say all the points. Have a structure. Look at what are the top 2, 3, 4 points you want to quickly convey, and tell us why. Tell the speaker why they think why that was helpful, or why that made a difference, or how it could have made a difference. Just focus on, as Priya mentioned, the what, how, and why, and that can. I hope that helps. So friends, with this we conclude. We are already short of time, and it has been a long, tiring day. I can see a lot of tired faces. So I will quickly conclude the panel discussion, and we now get into the closing ceremony. So Dean is asking who is the winner. That is a good question, Dean. So one thing I want to tell, which we didn't tell initially, is we are not going to have voting. Everybody is a winner today, because this entire workshop was about how to improve our analytical, our evaluating skills. And if you have learned something, if this workshop has helped you, then you definitely are a winner. That is how I would want to put it. So friends, I really wanted to have a guest feedback session, but since we have overshot time heavily, I will not hold you all any more longer. Let us conclude this session. Before we conclude, I want to thank Toastmaster Jinesh, Toastmaster Dean, Toastmaster Stuti, and Toastmaster Anaga, who have been who helped me organize this entire workshop. Without them, it would have been a massive challenge for me to do it alone. Special support from our division training team, Toastmaster Sudhir, Toastmaster Priya. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your continuous support, and let us keep practicing. Let us keep improving ourselves, and get better at what we're doing. Friends, so let us conclude this meeting. Is there anything anybody want to share? Then quickly, we can just go ahead with 60 seconds, 1 minute, and we can quickly wind this up. No? Everybody too eager to close the meeting?
Do you want to take a photo? So we can...
Yes, that is a good suggestion. Thank you, Dean. Yeah, everybody please come on video. Let us have a quick photo. Priya, Raminder, Ramasamy, Elka, and JJ, can we all have you on video?
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Let us conclude this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Dean Jinesh, let's close the meeting.
Yeah, let's close the meeting. Yeah, we're done. Yes, yes.